I just watched the cleaners just like throw it away.
It just got 70 degrees. No wind.
COVID went through our house.
Warm sunshine. Did you get, you had it?
I tested positive. I sore throat. I was.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Common Council here in the city of Middleton. Today is March 5th. It is 7:31. If we could bring it up on the screen, the agenda, and start the roll call, please.
He's got to look up our names.
I was gonna say, or we could just start with roll call and I'll pull up the
one thing.
agenda.
Too many screens open. Okay, for roll call, Alder Schaefer,
Here.
Alder Wokus,
Here.
Alder Cole,
Here.
Mayor Kuhn,
Here.
Alder Nelson,
Here.
Alder Hanairo,
Here.
Alder Lorman,
Here.
Alder Crow.
Here.
Alder Jackson is absent.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And do we have any public comments today? It looks like we have two. So do we have hands?
I think they left their forms on the table.
Oh, okay. If you can just grab.
I should have grabbed those, Brian. I'm sorry.
No worries. Okay, great. Okay, so the first person is Peg Michael at 6627 Wood Circle East on the topic of gypsy moth spraying. And Peg wishes to support the item, but just wishes to not speak. So just for the council to know. And the next person is Boyd Rossing. Boyd, if you can come up and give your address. And thank you. You have about 3 minutes.
Okay. Hi. Thank you very much. My name is Boyd Rossing. I live at 6638 Maywood Avenue in the Sax Woods area. I was a regular visitor here last spring regarding the spongy moth. Well, actually, much earlier than last spring regarding the spongy moth outbreak. And the first thing I want to do is thank the city for doing the spraying in spring 2023. As a resident there, the contrast was remarkable. The year before, we had spongy moths everywhere. People didn't want their kids to play in the yard. It was really, really bad. Last year, I noticed very few caterpillars, very few egg masses, very few moths. It was really remarkable. The spraying itself was hardly noticed. I did go outside during the first spray and I could smell it. So it does have a smell, but that was gone pretty quick. So I wanted to thank you for doing that. I do want to say, though, that we had a couple of outbreaks before that weren't suppressed. And each time there's an outbreak, we get trees defoliated. And over time, that kills them. So within the last several weeks, I've counted 12 oak trees, just my immediate neighbors, all adjoining my property, plus myself. I lost one. 12 oak trees, big, giant, beautiful oak trees have come down. So this really does have an impact. And when you spray and suppress, you're saving oak trees. So we're very supportive. All the neighbors I've spoken to were very positive about the spray in 23. I haven't spoken to as many now. I think people aren't out and about talking about it the way we were. But the ones I've talked to are very supportive about doing it again this year. This whole process has been very educational for us. We've learned about the cycle of the spongy moth, why and when and how often outbreaks occur and what the impacts are, what you can do individually to suppress. But we all understand that our own individual actions are not going to be sufficient to prevent a major outbreak for a whole host of reasons. And so it's really something that requires an overall aerial spray, which the city is poised to do. So again, we support the plans. I want to commend the city staff for going back to Hendrickson. We were very pleased with them. I understand that Kylie was able to negotiate a lower rate, which is great news. So that's a nice savings. And so in closing, you're really protecting a valuable resource for the whole city, socially and ecologically. And we're very much in supportive of the plans. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I just would like to take this moment to introduce our new Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation for Field Services tonight to all of you. I hope you have the chance to introduce yourself and get to know his expertise and knowledge that he's bringing to the table. We're really excited to see our department and our services improve over the next coming years with Kevin Short. So.
Thank you. I've had a chance to meet some of you. Yeah. I've had a chance to meet some of you through the CLC and the PRFC. Looking forward to meeting the rest of you in the coming weeks. Thank you so much.
So happy to have you.
Mhm.
Thank you. So thanks for introducing yourself. All right, so moving on to proclamations. Alder Nelson, can you go?
I had to clear my throat. This is a proclamation honoring March as Women's History Month. Whereas Women's History Month is a time to honor and celebrate the achievements, contributions, and resilience of women through history and in contemporary society. And whereas Women's History Month provides an opportunity to recognize the diverse roles women have played and continue to play in shaping our communities, advancing social progress, and driving positive change. And whereas Women's History Month encourages us to acknowledge the barriers and challenges that women have overcome and continue to face, while also promoting gender equality and empowering women and girls to pursue their aspirations and dreams. And whereas Middleton is proud to celebrate the countless women who have made significant contributions to our city, state, nation, and the world in various fields, including but not limited to education, science, business, politics, art, sports, and community service. And whereas Middleton acknowledges the importance of fostering an inclusive and equitable society where every individual, regardless of gender, has the opportunity to thrive and succeed.
Thank you for reading that. Is there a motion to approve the
Do you want to
proclamation?
read that now, therefore? Or do you want to read
You
this
have to
one?
read your part.
Read my part. Now, therefore, I, Emily Kuhn, Mayor of the City of Middleton, on behalf of the Common Council of the City of Middleton, do hereby proclaim March 2024 as Women's History Month in Middleton and call upon all residents to join in recognizing and celebrating the achievements and contributions of women, both past and present, and to work towards a future of equality, justice, and opportunity for all.
This is Haniro. I will move approval.
This is-
Second.
Any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the proclamation, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. All right, moving on to the consent agenda as recommended to council by committee, commission, and board. Is there a motion?
This is Haniro. I move approval of the consent agenda and would like to clarify item 5 is in the amount of $21,897.80. And number 6 is pending attorney review and approval.
I think number 5 is
Yeah.
pending.
Both of those are.
Oh, they're both pending. Sorry.
Is there a second?
Foreman, second.
Any discussion? I'm just gonna follow up and
Read
thank
through.
Kylie for getting a price reduction on the spongy mop, as noted. Okay, great, all the team, much appreciated. So,
I just want to also thank new Kevin Short and Kylie for meeting and Brent McHenry for meeting with me last week. We have a new plan of attack for getting everyone's consent for the spongy mouth spraying. And we have a new digital form. It's going to make consent a lot easier to get. It'll make it easier for the residents, but letters are going out imminently. They can call for consent. They can do a little digital thing. There are going to be reminders on the city website. And last year's spraying, as we noted, was very successful. We're going to really knock it out this year. And there's a a public involvement meeting the day after St. Patty's Day on the 18th at 6 p.m. here in the City Hall for anyone who has questions and wants more information. So that said, I will stop.
Fantastic.
Super excited. We've got this.
I appreciate it. That's cool. All right. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, noting that 5 and 6 are awaiting attorney approval and that 5 has the specific dollar amount, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to agreements. Agreement number 1, agreement with Wisconsin Policy Forum for Middleton Wanakee EMS Shared Services Study. Is there a motion?
I will move approval on behalf of finance for the amended letter of agreement between the city of Middleton and the Wanakee Area EMS District. And that letter of agreement is with the Wisconsin Policy Forum for the shared services studies in the amount not to exceed $10,000.
Is there a second?
Lorman will second.
Any comments? Hearing none, all those, oh, I'm sorry.
I did have one question about the risk to this project start date. Given that they identify that they're extremely backlogged, that the project would start or on or around. Do we know, like, how far out would around go if it can't be May 15th?
Maybe like a week or two. I mean, we've been in not constant, but continual conversation with them about maintaining the summer date as a hold. So feel pretty confident with that.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor of approving the agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Moving on to award of bid, quote, and professional service. Number 1, award of bid to BMD Concrete Innovations for annual concrete repair project.
This is Haniro. I move approval of the bid as recommended by the Finance Committee.
Is there a second?
Lorman will second.
Any comments? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the award of bid to BMD Concrete Innovations, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Number 2, the approval of quote to Alpha Graphics for licensing payments to artists for bus shelter public art project.
This is Haniro. I move approval as recommended by the Finance Committee.
This is Nelson. I'll second.
Is there any comments?
This is me.
Please do.
I've been on the Arts Committee for, I'm in a 5th year now.
I was gonna say forever.
No, that's not forever. I could go on there forever. But we've been working on this project for years now. So I'm very excited to see this come to fruition. And we will make sure that if there are any visual obstacles, we'll make sure to make it safe for drivers. But thank you for passing this.
Yeah, I'm going to add, I'm really excited with this project and the Arts Committee support of it. When I heard about it, I loved how it was something consistent throughout the city because our arts corridor, there's sort of an area, but this one is going to be throughout, and that just is really cool. I'm excited. So we'll have to do some social media boosts when it comes out and some pictures of our pictures.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So all those in favor, oh, my apologies.
That's okay. I had a question that wasn't answered during the finance discussion about this. So wondering if this is it, like if Madison has said, yes, this is happening. I'm just curious about the risk of if they're still deciding what locations, and we've already, the project has already had to pivot away from utility boxes to the buses. So I just wonder the risk of.
Great question. Yes, this was originally budgeted in 2022 in the capital budget for utility boxes. We had coordinated with Madison Gas and Electric, but when it came time to get an agreement in place, they didn't want to put anything in writing because they were concerned that it would void their warranties for their equipment that's within the utility boxes. So they could allow it, but they couldn't put it in writing. And we obviously didn't feel comfortable bringing forward a proposal to spend that kind of city dollars in case they would be removed. So the Arts Committee re-envisioned this for the shelters instead. We do have approval from Madison Metro. We coordinated with them in the beginning. They are supportive of the project. The only parameters that they gave us is that they didn't want anything on the sides because the drivers want to be able to see passengers that are waiting. So they didn't want any visual barrier to being able to see passengers that were waiting in the shelters. Most of the artwork, though, is targeted to shelters that are city-owned. And that's because we did try to look at the brand new shelters that the city purchased because those are in really good shape. And so it's a little bit easier to apply the artwork to shelters that haven't had the wear and tear over many, many years. But we do have approval from Madison Metro for the ones that they own.
I guess just a safety issue as well. There's a new bus shelter outside of where I work, and sometimes when the sun glares on it, it's hard to see past it. Are there considerations of kind of obstructed views as somebody's looking down the street to see if cars are coming?
That was brought up by Alder Wokus during the Finance Committee meeting as well. And we haven't gone out to review those. We did make sure that none of those are in the visual triangle, which is basically 15 feet measured from the corner of the property and then a straight line drawn. So none of the shelters are in the visual triangle, but we will go and do another set of reviews to make sure that we aren't placing artwork anywhere where it would be obstructing the view for drivers.
Yeah, I just want to applaud you on the choices of artwork. I found them very invigoratingly nice. You know, sometimes the whole public art thing gets a little wacky, but I really enjoyed every one of these. So thank you.
I agree.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
We had, I think about 60 submissions
Oh.
and the
Wow.
committee selected 10.
Wow.
So
Did
there
well.
were a lot to
Did
choose
well.
from.
That's great.
Mhm.
All those in favor of approving of the quote to Alpha Graphics for licensing payments to artists for bus shelter public art project, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Miscellaneous, the consideration, review, and potential approval for a material change to the Youth Center Director position and revision of the Assistant Youth Center Director to Recreation Coordinator.
This is Nelson. I'll move approval based on recommendation from Personnel and Finance.
Is there a second?
Lorman will second.
Any comments? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving? Can you help me? Did we say? Oh, approving the
Material
the
change.
material change to the Youth Center Director
Okay.
position.
Approving the material change to the Youth Center Director position, please say aye.
Aye. Revision of the assistant director.
To Recreation Coordinator.
Yes.
Okay. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Sorry. That's actually helpful. Number 2, the 2023 annual report for the City of Middleton Comprehensive Plan.
Hello, we have provided the 2023 annual report for the comprehensive plan in your packets this evening. This report is coming to you a little bit later than the 2022 report, and the reason for that is we were in the process of amending the comprehensive plan, and then we had the ordinance revisions coming forward, and so we decided to give a little bit of space on your agenda between those two big projects before presenting the report to you. As a reminder to you all, the comprehensive plan for the city is a required component. It is required by the Wisconsin Smart Growth Law. It must contain 9 elements. It is the city's 20-year vision to the future. And there are 5 steps, which I've included in a memo in your packet, that the city uses to carry out the goals, strategies, and actions in the comprehensive plan. Those steps are: number 1, to prioritize actions; number 2, through an annual report, which is what we're looking at this evening; Number 3 is through periodic amendments. These are smaller amendments to the comp plan, not full reviews. And we do have 2 requests for periodic amendments that are that have been submitted to the city. They are both changes to the future land use map, and the Plan Commission has set hearings for those, and I would expect that those would appear on Common Council agendas in either late March or in April. And then we have number 4, which is a regular review. The city should conduct a formal review of the plan at least once every 5 years. That was completed late last year. And then number 5 is we carry out the goals of the comprehensive plan through ensuring consistency with other city approvals. So that includes review of development applications, corridor and district plans through the city's official map, which was updated in 2022, through the zoning ordinance and zoning map, which was recently approved, through the subdivision ordinance, which is kicking off a revision this year. And Wisconsin law actually requires that official maps, the zoning ordinance and zoning map, and the subdivision ordinance are consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. Our staff is quite happy with the comprehensive plan. It is a document that we refer to every day as we're working with community members, fielding requests, writing grant applications, and other projects that we're working on. And our Plan Commission is also expressed a lot of support for the document at their last meeting and said that they are regularly using the document as applications come before them to review them for consistency. This is what the annual report looks like. It is a big Excel spreadsheet that includes every action. And then we have assigned a point value for the progress that the city is making towards these goals. And then we have a section for notes that hopefully will remind anyone who's reviewing the document of some of the projects that we've worked on for each of these various actions. I would note that the annual report is not intended to measure progress year over year. And the reason for that is that the goals are regularly being updated. So they change frequently as they are approved by the council. We do have some changes that we're already tracking in the comp plan, and it's primarily related to the adoption of the new ordinances. So there are many actions within the plan that relate to the need to reduce parking minimums, for example. Well, that now has been completed, and that would move to an implementation step rather than actually an action step to complete. So the comprehensive plan, it should be responsive to continuous change in the community, and its usefulness should continue to be monitored by staff, the Plan Commission, and by the City Council. I'm open to any comments or questions that you have about the report. And then the intent of our staff would be to publish it on the website after we get your comments incorporated this evening.
Though you're saying not necessarily a measure of because the goals are shifting and and adapting as you go, I still think it's incredibly impressive how many actions were completed, how many actions are in the works. So big kudos to staff for all of that. And this is, there's a lot. I probably have a lot of questions about like potential timelines for things. But I am curious about like potentially a start date for Vision Zero with regard to working to eliminate traffic fatalities. Simply like this popped up because I just read a study out of Hoboken, New Jersey, that their Vision Zero implementation has led to 0 traffic fatalities in the last 7 years. So their massive change to how they did their crosswalks and painting and a lot of changes to slowing traffic and while they were also improving walkability, which is something that we are working on, I think would be a good model. And so just curious as to like maybe when that visioning might start for Vision Zero.
It's a great question, and I'm assuming that it will be part of the active transportation plan that's also kicking off. I believe that the Ped Bike Transit Committee already held a initial kickoff meeting for that plan, and that is an update to the 2009 bicycle and pedestrian plan that's quite outdated now. It's a plan that we're updating in-house with our own staff team. So I will pass it along to Mark Opitz, who staffs the committee, and make sure that that's part of the conversation.
Yeah, Governing just published that study.
Okay, thank you.
If you have a link for Hoboken,
Yeah.
you know, transit nerds like to read that. So I'm sure Mark and staff would like it too, maybe.
No Hoboken, right?
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Any other comments?
So maybe this is the wrong time. It's just informational. You talk about the zoning map, and that's what made me think about it. I've been trying to find a new zoning map, and it appears it's still not up. Do you have any idea when there's still the 2022 zoning map is what's up on the official site.
Okay.
Pass through the zoning and everything, so it ideally should be up there.
Yeah, it is on the website. I wonder if it's mislabeled. If you go to cityofmiddleton.us/zoning, it will take you to the page that has the official zoning map, and it's actually interactive now. It's not just a static
When I know that map,
PDF.
but when I went about 2 days ago, I went to find that, and it still brings up the 2022, the older non-interactive map. So
Okay,
maybe you just want to check on it.
we'll check that out. Thanks for the heads up on that.
We're trying to find that stuff on a new zoning. And we're getting-
Could be that it's in two places and we just have to
Update the
retire
old
one
one.
of them.
Yep, that
Thank
could
you.
be.
Thank you for sharing that. Any other comments on this?
What's your deadline on this? Because the Airport Commission might be able to help you with some things. There are some other future developments going on with what's called SAFE, Sustainable Aviation Fuel. And it's really a development that is impacting jet A fuels, which are also sold at the airport. And it's a bio-based fuel. And it is in testing, use, and development.
Okay.
And it's also, seen as probably someday a complete, maybe a fleet-wide replacement. And obviously also with the FAA mandated, self-imposed mandated, deadline of 2030 for a complete, unleaded fuel replacement. And I don't know if you just want us to help you find some language. I think it would be nice where we make a point to say that, we're going to monitor this and, continue to monitor it. State of California is doing most of the work for us.
Mhm.
But it'll, then it'll come our way.
Yeah, are you referring to the action about advancing sustainability at the airport? There was an action.
Indirectly. It's more related to operations.
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you.
Is there any other feedback that you need? Because that's a very robust amount of topics and much appreciated for folks' insights. If there's other topics, I'm sure Abby, if there was wonderful questions from Alder Cole, maybe she can email them to you down the road on timelines. But otherwise, thank you for your time. All right, moving on to discussion and potential action on February 26th, correspondence from Town of Middleton regarding invitation to commence cooperative plan negotiations under WISTAT Section 66.0307. And I'm going to ask the city administrator to intro this topic.
Sure. Thank you. So you included in the packet is the letter that we received on February 26th from the town of Middleton, asking if we'd be interested in participating in cooperative boundary agreements, or otherwise known as intergovernmental agreement. The current agreement that we have with them expires May of this year. So they've sent out their formal request for us to participate in that. So tonight, there's a couple of options for action items. If the council is interested in engaging in this discussion, your action item back to me would be to respond back to the town saying that we're interested. And then at our next council meeting on the 19th, I'd have a resolution prepared for your adoption, which would mirror the resolution that the town adopted and included as part of their letter. That's the formal mechanism that we have to send to various parties to indicate that we are formally negotiating or participating in a cooperative plan discussion. Second, and related to that, if the council does choose if they want to participate in this discussion with the town of Middleton, my suggestion would be it doesn't necessarily have to be tonight, it could be on the 19th. You could appoint a subgroup of council members that would be part of the discussion team for the city. So, for example, 3 council members, in essence, could be appointed to serve as the negotiation team for the city, along with staff. And then if we get to the point where we're able to come to an agreement on a new IGA, obviously that would come back to the city council for your formal review and adoption at a later date. Given sometimes the complex nature of these type of discussions, they can take a couple of months up to a year to get all the way to fruition. It just kind of depends on what issues get brought up for discussion. So we don't know that at the onset, but just to level set expectations for any members who want to participate, this might be a discussion that goes on, for a couple of weeks, or it could be a couple months, up to 6 months to a year, depending on the things that are up for discussion. So just wanted to lay that out there.
And did you need any direction from us?
I did, and Alder Cole had her hand up first.
All my questions tonight are about timelines. Seeing that this does expire on May 12th, if negotiations are taking longer, then, how does because it looks like the one additional 10-year term is concluded.
Correct. Yep. So this agreement would expire, and we would just, at the time that if we come to an agreement on a new cooperative plan, we would adopt it at that time. But in the absence, past March 12th, there would not be an agreement in place.
We can
May
choose
12th.
to fail. I mean, not fail, but
It gets a little bit more
if we come
complicated.
up with an agreement, we don't have to keep going until ultimately we finally.
Yeah, it may be the case that the communities are not able to come to agreement. There is the option in state statute for a mediated discussion, but it gets a little bit more into the weeds if one party says they don't want to negotiate, but we'll cross the bridge.
Am I right? This is the negotiation, this is the sort of pact we had with the town of Middleton, and I believe we had one with the town of Springfield, about not merging into their towns because that is some of the most fertile farmland in the country. Is this?
Yeah, so it's cooperative boundary agreements or cooperative plans relate to the boundaries between municipalities and when and under what circumstances can one community annex land from another community. So yes, the previous agreements that we had in place did put restrictions on our ability to pursue or accept annexations outside of certain areas that had been pre-designated. And you're right, we do have a similar agreement with Town of Springfield. That agreement runs for about another year. So we'll actually probably be doing a similar process with Town of Springfield concurrently with the Town of Middleton, just the way the timelines lined up.
When was this one enacted? Was like,
1994.
okay. I thought it was about 20 years.
And this is triggered now
30.
because it's coming. to
Yes,
town.
to Alder Schaefer's question, this is triggered now because the 30-year time period is coming up. The initial agreement had a 20-year time period, and then there was a 10-year automatic extension. So that got us to our 30 years. We're now at that point.
The agreement in the packet paragraph 6 indicates it may be amended by written agreement approved by the Common Council and the Board of Supervisors. Can we extend the agreement for a year while we negotiate changes? Do you think the town?
If the council wants to offer that as a suggestion as part of any recommendation, I can offer that to the town and see what the response to that would be.
Does our city attorney have any comments on working to amend the current agreement versus letting it expire and possibly?
Well, yeah, I didn't re-review the agreement in great detail. Frankly, I think a lot of what's there probably benefits the town more than benefits us. I don't think there's anything in here that really gives me a lot of heartburn if it were to expire, but I mean, I don't see any harm either in asking if they would want to do a, you know, a 1 year or, you know, hold this in place while the cooperative planning
Mhm.
process goes in place. But, like I said, I think.
Good idea.
I think for the most part, a lot of the stuff that benefited the city are things that have sort of already passed, and most of the current provisions really are more, I think, for the town's benefit.
Perhaps, although that to me doesn't necessarily, that's not a bad thing,
No,
right?
you're right. No, I don't mean to suggest that, yeah, we don't want to continue anything that's in the town's benefit, but it's just, you know, that's the way they read.
Well, I would be in favor of asking them to extend it for however long you think is necessary, Brian, based on your experience. And at the same time, accepting the invitation to work with them.
I can see some value to that. And that, you know, having dealt with the township, with the airport for a long time, I can't help but think there's issues somehow buried beneath this. And opening it all up to a free-for-all basically says throw out the old and let's start from scratch, I think could get very problematic. So I like having some sense of stability and constancy. I might, you know, agree to say something like, you know, keep it going for another year. And if at the end of the year we don't have an agreement, then whatever happens. But I'm worried about the free-for-all with the town.
Wonderful.
To that point, their letter indicates that this request was not agreed to 3 years ago. Am I understanding that correctly? And then what happened at that time that?
There was a request, yeah, roughly 3 years ago. Actually, we held a joint meeting with town board. I don't remember if it was the entire town board or representatives, the Springfield town board and the city council. And that was really when a lot of the airport stuff was really, you know, gathering steam and coming to a head. And the council basically listened to kind of their proposals and what they wanted and didn't really hear anything that interested it. And it went nowhere from there.
It was also kind of tough times from my recall, because I'd be right during the pandemic, and there was just a lot of, I mean, to
Yeah.
go to meet in person, I think the town at the time was more cautious. Even we may
Yeah.
not have been meeting in person, so there
I
were
be-
other barriers.
Yeah, but I believe we
beyond.
did hold that meeting in person.
I think it was.
We were
right.
spaced quite a bit,
Yeah.
but it was in person. But as you can imagine, the town had a laundry list of things mostly to do with the airport.
Well,
Springfield talked about some cooperative issues that you know, that thought we could work on, but you know, at the end of the day, there just wasn't enough there to.
well, we just did receive that letter from them, and after the drug bust, now they want to shut the whole airport down. And I was involved with all those discussions the last 2-3 years. And I can't help but think there's.
Yeah, well, like I said,
This is why I want to avoid the free-for-all.
I think guardrails are always good and appreciate that insight. Do you need a couple of volunteers for this? When would this start?
It's gonna be.
Can depend on the schedules of both parties involved, and if we're getting two communities, you know, involved in this discussion, it might take a little while to coordinate calendars. So my best guess for first meeting would be April, May. But if there's anybody that wants to volunteer, you know, like I said, either you can let us know that now, or when I bring back a formal resolution for your adoption at the meeting on the 19th, that would also be a time to establish who the representatives would be.
I'll volunteer. I'd probably be useful for the airport piece of it. I think what's important to point out in this letter from the town, you know, dated the 26th, is what we are stepping into. So the airport commission 2 meetings ago recommended that the city consider a compatible land use plan regarding the airport. That was immediately followed by a letter of absolute disinformation from the town to all of us and to the surrounding townships, to which at the last town of Cross Plains Common Council meeting, they reviewed the letter and they agreed to support that letter and that position, and basically stating that we should not pursue a compatible land use plan. And they formed a compatible land use plan as a land use ordinance, which, of course, this Common Council 2 years ago considered and voted down. And the reason the Airport Commission sent it to the Common Council was to sort of get it off the plate. Having a land use ordinance surrounding the airport, we knew was a non-starter, but it had to be put out there so it could get terminated. A compatible land use plan is an internal document for the city and the airport in terms of almost like an internal memo of understanding, outlining best practices for operational considerations around the airport. And again, it's now being turned into that the city of Middleton plans on annexing land and restricting ability to do who knows what. So I just would say tread really carefully, because anything we say and anything we do is going to be simply twisted and brought right back to us. The airport runway and taxiways are going to be repaired and resurfaced out to 2027. There's no expansion at the airport. Yet, in these recent memos from the town, expansion is what's said. And ordinances are what's stated when we are doing none of that. So it would be great to have a dialogue with the town and not go down a rabbit hole. And yeah, so I don't know what else to say. I mean,
We can meet on a heliport.
right.
I think it would be good for us to take a couple of weeks and think about who to tap to represent the city in these discussions. I noted that Alder Jackson is not here and his district includes the boundary. And I think we need to think about the approach we want to take, recognizing that in any negotiation over anything sensitive like this, you do have to be careful. But I think we want to make sure that we approach this with an informed and yet open mind. And I'd be willing to consider participating if that's what my colleagues wish.
With full recognition that this is probably past the point of my tenure on the council, but I also think it would be beneficial for council members to have a historical perspective over relationships with the township over time and how boundaries may have changed, perceptions over time of the relationship between the city and the town. One of the things that the town points out that the makeup of the council is incredibly different from 3 years ago. That's very true. There's not a lot of historical memory among the current body and what the body will be in 2 months over what has happened in the history of the airport and the community and that sort of thing. So I think it's would be beneficial for maybe a conversation, just a historical perspective over the cooperative boundary itself. Just to give some context.
I do appreciate that, Alder Wilkes. It does strike me everything that you say, especially because I think that with the change of makeup of the council as compared to 3 years ago, that in my heart, I hope that we are open-minded, but still knowledgeable of the things and thoughtful in what we say so that things are not twisted, as Alder Lorman said, that we walk, gently into this, but that we do it open-mindedly, like Alder Wokus is saying. And, council will be changing again. And I'm looking to our president as we think about things, because with the changeover of council, with two people retiring who will be missed, that two will be walking in, so they would be very new, and that would probably be a tall order. That the summer to fall discussions may be hard on some people's schedules. So if you have raised your hand, I do appreciate it. And I will look to Alder Nelson and her thoughts in the coming weeks. So I appreciate everyone's insights. Now I've misplaced my agenda, so just a minute.
So, Madam Chair, the direction I would need from the body tonight would be, one, to formally authorize me to respond back to the town to indicate an interest in starting the conversation about negotiations, with the caveat, if the council so chooses, to ask the town to extend the current agreement for anywhere between 6 months to up to a year to allow time for discussions to occur. And then also to, on the March 19th agenda, have a draft of a formal resolution for the council's consideration. And at that time, on the 19th, you can formally select your representatives to the discussion group.
Thank you. And can that be all one motion, or do you need separate?
It could all be one.
Is there a motion as we stated?
I'll make that motion. Alder Crow.
Thank you, Alder Crow. Is there a second?
Lorman, second.
Any comments on those proposals? All right, on those motions, all those in favor of approving the motion to let the city administrator begin to respond and then put onto the March 19th agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Up next is discussions on any committees, commissions, and boards. And since we've heard about the art update on the bus shelters, I'm excited. Maybe, is there anything else hopping in?
We're still looking for artists.
Oh, for the art walk?
Yeah,
Oh, fantastic.
for the art walk, May 18th. It's going to be a great art fair, art show, art walk with a kids corner, bands, live demos, and an after party at Stonehorse Green with like bubbles.
Sign me up. This sounds amazing.
Bring it on my calendar.
Set your alert to go off.
That's amazing.
I'll just share, the golf course is hopeful to open next week at some point.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, no set date for certain. They're still mindful of colder temperatures and wet weather, but it's hopefully on the near horizon.
Super.
I'll report on Public Works. We had a great overview and discussion of what to do when any of us gets a request regarding traffic safety, what the process is. And I really encourage everybody to check out the video of that. It's about midway through the meeting when we start talking about traffic control and traffic calming. And it was a really, really helpful discussion. And then on the Plan Commission, we spent a lot of time talking about the Garden District preliminary and final plat. We had the specific implementation plans for the beautiful Olmsted Building and Garden District Drive. But there are policy issues that still need to be addressed, and that's why we didn't move any of those 4 items forward. We referred the preliminary plat to PRFC to talk about the dedication of parkland, which I may be confusing my meetings here, folks, so sorry if I'm repeating stuff but the dedication of parkland is not quite 3 acres under our interpretation, although it is under the developer's interpretation. The stormwater issue, which Finance Committee talked about, whether to allow any stormwater to be, any privately generated stormwater to be managed under a public park. There's an issue about the land swap idea, specifically if it proceeds that the developer be restricted to using this land in some form of a public-private partnership that will be mutually beneficial to the city, park, and the development. And then also there's a minor issue that I think has already been resolved regarding the donation, the acknowledgement of land being donated for a park versus it's a required dedication. So, but I think that one was already resolved. And then the SIPs are just waiting on approval of the final plat, which is waiting on approval of the preliminary plat. So I hope we'll be able to get to that at our next meeting, because I don't know if anybody has seen the image of what the Olmsted building will look like. It's beautiful. This is going to be an exciting new development, and I really think we'll be able to work through all of the issues.
Conservancy Lands had our first meeting in many, many months, and all new faces there as well, of course, and some leadership changes were just implemented. And so for now, I'm the chair, and Dave Shaw is vice chair. And the real big topic of discussion was, of course, the baseball diamond development behind the high school and the zoning of that property. It's quite fascinating how you walk into a meeting thinking one thing and walk out with something completely different, which is good, because that means people care and they're doing their jobs. So bottom line is, we just went around the room and polled all the members, first regarding just zoning of conservancy to institutional. And all the members had no problem in a rezone from conservancy to institutional. However, when that motion was put to the committee, it stopped. Okay, more discussion. So the Conservancy Lands at this point is really asking for additional information, want to know the environmental impact and details, from the school and the developer of this project of artificial turf. So quite informative and quite educational. So that's where it stands. I really think everybody did their job and did it well. It's the committee's made up of people who really know their craft when it comes to the contribution to it. So
Discussing because they did pass the artificial turf. Somebody passed that through.
The school district.
right. So
Yeah.
that's right. And so the school district has obviously made a decision, but the Conservancy and Lands simply
so
wants
that's
more
not the final
information
decision.
regarding the environmental impact of that decision before they're willing to go any further. So that's where it stands. And it was very much appreciative of everybody just providing really good input and really thoughtful.
Awesome. Alder Nelson had.
Yeah, just a
something.
quick question to the universe. Alder Haniro was talking about like a part of the meeting in Public Works, or was it Bike Ped? What is it? Public Works?
Public Works.
How to, if a constituent has a traffic issue, how to handle that. I'm wondering if it's possible to edit our meetings to make like a 2-minute bottom line video that could go on the city website. Bottom line, this is what you need to know that happened here. I'm hoping we can do that with the Spongy Moth public involvement meeting. Bottom line, these are the things you need to know, and just edit the recorded meeting and just have like a video version of a bullet point.
We could have We could have AI versions of each of us sum up the meeting.
See the avatars.
I look forward to my avatar.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as long as we can tweak our own avatars.
I was gonna say, in all seriousness,
Hey,
the avatar could easily take portions of a minute and digest it and make it really quite easily condensable, which would address,
yep.
visually, challenged.
Think about it.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I
That could be
like
a, does that need to be like a committee of the whole discussion topic or?
Like that.
Oh, Brian. Okay, Brian, I retract. I'm just retracting my,
For that topic.
I take it all
will let
back.
you know.
and that-
No, it's something we can take a look at. My initial thought, the face was it might be easier to do like a weekly summary of committee meetings. So I've seen other communities, not with AI necessarily, but with other means where here's the highlights of the meeting, city meetings that happened this week. And so you could get a quick hit of the bullet points, as you suggest, of things that went on for the week of, March 5th, for example. And then I think it'd be easier to do that than have to do 6 different meetings.
Mhm.
So we'll take a look at it.
And just so you know, the current AI program that's a minute to 2 minutes does take like 2 to 4 hours to do. So if you don't know that, then this might be a bigger project, but I like the concept of the.
One more thing, if you can just like clip parts of the meeting, literally edit
If it's recorded,
the highlight reel. Yeah.
more actions.
Please don't take seriously what I said. It was just a random.
For your avatar, I want to have one with, you should have one with a beard. I'll have my little flippy hair. It'll be great.
I was just going to point out that the library kicked off their fundraising phase for the bookmobile. So they got a display at the library. They've been doing a lot of public announcements, and they're hoping to have it by end of summer, fall, have it here in the city. So they're looking for donations still to fill the bookmobile.
And the bathrooms are under construction.
And the bathrooms at the library are under construction.
Wonderful, great. Any other committee? Okay, hearing none. I think it's time to adjourn. I hope everyone has a great night.